Okay, in the name of Allah, my friends, last period we discussed the relation between quantity and the quality of in a balanced food diet. We said that to find to construct a balanced diet, we have to take into consideration first of all the quantity of food that is related to the quantity of energy. It means that to find the mass of food, we need to find the amount of energy consumed by the individual at a given day, daily. So, and these tables can give us an idea about the activity and the energy spent, and as well as for the age, as we said last period. So, I want to suppose now we know the amount of energy consumed by a given person at a given day. We have now to find the quality of food he must eat. And it is not only important, as we said, the mass of the food the individual must eat, the quantity of food. We are interested also in the quality of this food. What are, look to this, energetic needs. First, we need to calculate the energetic needs of the individual. Then what? To find the mass of organic substances that must cover these needs. So عرفت انه this individual must eat 7 kilograms of food, okay. But what about the organic substance that must exist in this food? The quality. Dr. Alfred gave us a formula. So it is about CPL formula or CPL needs, quantity, the relation between quantity and the quality. They are ensured by the formula of total energetic intake. The formula of total energetic intake. Total energetic intake is the total amount of energy needed by the individual. 4 to 1 portions equals CPL. This is the formula of Dr. Alfred Kraft. Okay, it says, can you translate, please? Yes, I can translate. Dr. Alfred Kraft said that carbohydrates must cover 55% of total energetic intake. The proteins must cover 15% of the total energetic intake, and lipids must cover 30% of the total energetic intake. Look at this 55 plus 15 plus 30, we say 100%. Do not forget, water and mineral salts do not give energy. So the energy is provided by the organic substances. In other words, suppose now an example. If the total energetic intake, yani the total amount of energy needed by a given individual, consumed by the individual, spent by the individual, is 100 kilocalories. Suppose I said 55 kilocalories must be in the form of carbohydrates, and 15 kilocalories must be in the form of proteins, and 30 kilocalories must be in the form of lipids. So when I say carbohydrates must cover 55% of the total energetic intake, yani if the total energetic intake is 100, for example, 100 kilocalories, 55 kilocalories must come from carbohydrates, and 15 must come from proteins, and so on, and 30 kilocalories must come from lipids. This is what I want to tell you. This is what we want to mention by the quality. Quality needs the quality. So the quality means the distribution of the total energetic intake on what the organic substance we have to eat. Suppose another example. Suppose that the total energetic intake of a given individual is 2,500 kilocalories. What is the amount of energy that must uh, be in the form of carbohydrates, that must be provided by carbohydrates? Okay, it's simple. 2,500 times 55 over 100, and like this you can find the amount of energy that the carbohydrates provide for the individual. The same as for proteins. If the total energetic intake of the individual is 2,500 kilocalories, for example, to find the amount of energy that must be provided by proteins this individual must eat, you multiply 15 times 2500 over 100. And like this, you find the amount of energy that must be provided by the proteins, and so on. And do not forget, when you find the amount of carbohydrates, the amount of energy that must be provided by the carbohydrates, it is as if you find the mass. suppose انه carbohydrates must give for the person, for example, 30 kilocalories. How can you find the mass of carbohydrates this individual must eat? Is the kernel carbohydrates must give 30 kilocalories. Very good. You know that every 1 gram of carbohydrates give 4 kilocalories. So 30 kilocalories give X. It is a cross multiplication. And like this, you can find the mass of carbohydrate this individual must eat at a given day. It is something easy. It is not difficult. You have total energetic intake. لو فرضنا it is 2500, you find amount of energy that must be provided in the form of carbohydrates, and when you find the amount of energy by carbohydrates, you make the cross multiplication. You know that 1 gram give 4 kilocalories. This amount of energy give X. Cross multiplication, and you find the mass of carbohydrate this individual must eat. The same as for the other substance. Avec one remark, please look to this remark. The total energy intake, and this amount of energy, and do not forget, when I say this amount of energy, I mean this amount of food must not be eaten at once. No, must be distributed, n'est-ce during all the day. But breakfast must cover 25% of the total energy intake. Here we can say that breakfast is very important. You know, I think all of us, we do not take our breakfast. انتوا بيناتنا الشباب بيناتنا وصبايا. خي مين له خلق ياكل الصبح؟ مين له خلق ياكل الساعة 6 الصبح؟ بس السؤال هو هل يجب أن نأكل الصبح ولا لا يجب؟ طبعا we have to eat. At the morning we take our breakfast, and this breakfast must cover what? انتبه يا حبيبي. The quarter, 1/4, 25% of the total energetic intake. So remark, total energetic intake must be distributed during all the day, with breakfast equals 25% of this total energetic intake. We are now constructing a real food diet, a real balanced food diet for an individual. Now, so once we calculated the total energetic intake of an individual using these tables, also don't forget what you have to do every day, what about your activity this day. So now we calculate the total energetic intake of the individual. We can find the mass of carbohydrates, the mass of proteins, the mass of lipids, based on this formula. And don't forget, 25% of this total energetic intake must be in the form of must be provided by our breakfast. Yani, for example, if the total energetic intake of an individual, I said if is 100 kilocalories, 25 kilocalories must be taken at breakfast. إذا بدك تجيب الماس of carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, you will use these formulas. We will see an example, detailed example, later بإذن الله سبحانه وتعالى. Good. Now we studied something about the quantity. We know how can we distribute, how must we distribute the organic substance on the quantity and the quality of food. And it remains what? Look to this. Look, please, I will repeat. In a balanced diet, the quantity, energetic needs, and the quality of foods, okay, as well as the origin of certain constituents of the food must be taken into consideration. It says what؟ شو يعني؟ يعني يا غالي, once you find the quality, the mass of carbohydrates this individual must eat. مش حر ياكل شو ما كان سكر يا غالي, يجيب مرتبين سكر وياكلوا عند المسا. No, it's not like this. Once you find the mass of proteins also, you must also calculate the mass of proteins from each origin, from animal and from plants. The mass of carbohydrates also of animal origin and of plant origin, this, as well as for lipids, individual must eat. And if we find that the mass of carbohydrate this individual must eat, suppose I am saying 10 gram or 50 grams, 50 grams must not only be of plant origin, or must not be of one type or one origin. There are carbohydrates called of slow assimilation, and the others are of rapid assimilation. We'll see this now. So, at the beginning of this lesson, we said that the origin of the constituents of the organic substance must be taken into consideration. Let us see how. Now what? Balance in origin. Balance in origin. The balance in origin of the different types of substance existing in our food must be respected. The balance in origin of these substances you have to eat, and of the carbohydrates, of proteins, of lipids, okay, must be respected. Look to the three cases. The first case, for proteins. Balance on proteins. Animal proteins over vegetable proteins equals what? 1. It says what يا حبيبي؟ يعني what is the meaning of this? يعني the mass of animal protein must be equal to the mass of vegetable protein once you eat. In other words, if you find that the mass of proteins an individual must eat is approximately, for example, 300 grams of proteins, those 300 grams must not be only of plant origin and not only of animal origin. No, you must divide this into two equal quantities, from animal as meat and from vegetables as seeds, as any other vegetable containing proteins. So, if the mass of proteins an individual must eat is 300 grams, 150 grams must be of animal origin, and the other 150 must be of plant origin. It is important. It is important. This is what we say, what we name balance in origin. The second case is about lipids. طبعا في proteins, lipids and carbohydrates. Lipids, balance in lipids. Lipids from animal source over lipids from vegetable source equals 1/2. Okay, so lipids from animal over lipids from vegetable equals 1/2. It means that the lipids from vegetable must be equal twice the lipids of animal origin. Because when you say that animal lipids from animal over lipids from vegetable equals 1/2. If you make a cross multiplication, it implies that lipid vegetable times 1 بيساوي lipid from animal times 2. So the lipid from vegetable must be, the quantity must be twice the lipids from animal. It is as if you say the lipids from animal بتساوي half of the amount of lipids from vegetables. It is important. So as you see, it's not only important to know the mass of lipids the individual must eat. No, we have to make a balance in the origin of the different types of substance existing in our food. The last idea is about carbohydrates, of course. balancing carbohydrates. So sugar with rapid assimilation over sugar of slow assimilation equals 1 over 3. Uh, rapid assimilation. Rapid assimilation over slow assimilation is equals 1 over 3. Rapid assimilation يعني rapid digestion. As simple sugar, for example. Slow assimilation as a starch. It takes more time assimilation to be digested and to be taken by blood. When we say rapid over slow equals 1 over 3, it means that slow times 1 equals 3 rapid. It means that the amount of sugar of slow assimilation must be 3 times greater than the carbohydrates of rapid assimilation. It is important about the balance of in origin. It is also important to notice. So first, the quantity of food related to the quantity of energy. Then Dr. Alfred Kraft distributed this quantity of food into carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. Then, once you find the mass of carbohydrates and proteins and lipids, you must respect the balanced origin of these substances. I hope I helped you. I hope you understand or you understood what I explained. If you have any question, Ya Ghali, you can ask it and you can send your questions and I will be happy to answer your questions. May God protect you and your family. See you inshallah.